Thank you, Senator.
I don't know if this has been gone over yet already, so forgive me if it has. But I'm curious about some of the things you've said about administrative agencies. And let me open with the question whether you believe that an administrative agency has a right to equal treatment before the law in your courtroom if you are confirmed.
Senator, if I was so fortunate as to be confirmed to be a judge, of course, every litigant, administrative agency, or otherwise would be entitled to equal right. That is the promise of federal law. It's the oath that judges take.
So you have said that the entire administrative state is illegitimate, and at various times you've described as illegitimate parts of that administrative state, the Environmental Protection Agency, the Department of Labor, and the Internal Revenue Service. That's, first of all, let me ask, which other agencies within what you describe as the administrative state do you consider illegitimate?
Senator, first, I believe that the comments that you're quoting came from a speech that I was giving on behalf of the governor. He was my client, and I was advocating his position to articulate a challenge, actually a series of challenges that the state of Texas was
now, come on,
against federal agencies.
Don't kid me. You know perfectly well in that speech you used a word that is highly personal, didn't you? You said that it was enraging.
Senator,
were you talking about somebody else when you said that you were enraged by the illegitimate administrative state? That's not speaking on behalf of the governor. Not when you're talking about your own emotions, I don't think. I mean, don't kid me here.
Senator, I am being quite serious when I say that I was advocating on behalf of a client. That was part of a broader challenge that we had been having in the state of Texas against various procedures that federal administrative agencies were using.
So were you or were you not enraged when you said it was enraging?
Senator, if you go back and listen to the remarks that I was giving in context, what I was describing was simply a frustration over a series of lawsuits that the state of Texas had been litigating. We had been.
I get it, but my question is, were you then enraged about this problem that you said was enraging?
Senator, 2 points, if I might. The first is that at the time that I gave those remarks, I was frustrated on behalf of my client for a series of litigation matters where the state of Texas.
Clear up for a minute this on behalf of my client thing. You said from the governor's perspective and mine. Who is the mine you referred to in that comment?
Senator, that's
that yourself?
Senator, it's my perspective as an advocate, but it has no bearing on my perspective as a jurist. The entire premise of what I was doing in that particular set of remarks was to advocate a position for my client.
But do you understand the worry that you bring into your courtroom a history of having found administrative agencies both illegitimate and enraging? Their very existence, illegitimate and enraging. Do you think that it's reasonable for us to have some concerns about whether you can make a complete firewall once you put that robe on between something that personally enrages you, that you consider to be illegitimate, and yet treat that enraging, illegitimate entity fairly in your courtroom? Don't you think there's at least a reasonable question that is worth pursuing as to that?
Senator, I understand your question, and I think I understand the premise behind it. All I'm saying is that the positions that I take as an advocate have no bearing on my ability to be a jurist. I come to this committee.
Yeah, you know, people say that, but there's a point at which when you're enraged enough about something, it's not just, you said this position is mine and I am enraged. That's not just saying, Your Honor, on behalf of my client, I take this following position of law. More or less, you weren't even appearing in court in that. That wasn't a client thing. You were speaking to a regular audience on behalf of the governor. You weren't representing him in the legal sense at that time. So you're just giving a speech, right? This was a speech, not a legal argument to a court.
Senator Whitehouse, sometimes I represent the state and the governor in court, and sometimes I do it
And this was to answer my question, this was a speech and not a legal argument to a court, correct?
in the court of public opinion. And it has no bearing on my ability to be a jurist. I come to this committee with no agenda, and if I am so fortunate as to be confirmed, my entire life would be devoted to applying the law equally and fairly in defense of the Constitution and laws of the United States.
I very much hope that that is true, but the trajectory of your rhetoric on this subject makes the likelihood of a 180 like that a little improbable. My time has expired.